What's up, everybody? It's your boy Joshua Freeman, and welcome back to Joshua vs. Movies Infusion Edition. I'm here with Brian Carey, Desmond Tillman, and we're looking at Star Wars Episode 4, A New Hope. A New Hope came out in 1977 and was directed by George Lucas. The movie stars Mark Hamill, Harrison Ford, Carrie Fisher, Alec Guinness, and David Prowse. But I think we're all set. So without further ado, let's get to the review.
Fight!
Round 1.
Did you hear that? They shut down the main reactor. We'll be destroyed for sure. R2-D2, where are you? They're heading in this direction. What are we going to do? We'll be sent to the spice mines of Kessel or smashed into who knows what.
The Death Star plans are not in the main computer.
What have you done with those plans?
This is a consular ship. We're on a diplomatic mission.
If this is a consular ship, where is the ambassador?
There's one. Set for stun.
Hey, you're not permitted in there. It's restricted. Secret mission? What plans? What are you talking about? I'm not getting in there. I'm going to regret this.
There goes another one.
Hold your fire. There's no life forms. It must have short-circuited.
That's funny. The damage doesn't look as bad from out here.
Darth Vader, only you could be so bold.
Several transmissions were beamed to the ship by rebel spies. I want to know what happened to the plans they sent you.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Take it away!
Word of this gets out, it could generate sympathy for the rebellion in the Senate.
I have traced the rebel spies to her. Now she is my only link to finding their secret base.
Lord Vader, the battle station plans are not aboard this ship, and no transmissions were made.
She must have hidden the plans in the escape pod. Send a detachment down to retrieve them. See to it personally, Commander.
I like this opening scene and how it shows from the very beginning. Of course, it's the first movie that George Lucas intended to release. And I like how it shows Darth Vader coming in at the very beginning and showing off his ruthlessness. And I think it kind of sets the tone for how Darth Vader is going to be, not just in this movie, and like in the rest of the movies in this trilogy too. So I do like that. I do have a question though.
Sure.
Should he doesn't sense Leia?
That's
Why is that?
I was curious. I was going to ask Desmond, does he know that Leia's his daughter?
I doubt. Yeah, I doubt he knows it. But why can't he sense it? Is it
Because he didn't know that.
Force?
He didn't know that she was. One, he didn't know that she was pregnant with twins, and then two, he didn't know that she gave birth before she died.
Oh, so he
Yes, he just assumes that because he assumes that he kills her on Mustafar. Yeah. When he puts him in the Force trap. So it wouldn't make sense to him as far as when Palpatine tells him that in your anger and your rage that you killed her, that she would have survived and then gave birth and then died. He thinks that he killed her right there in that moment on Mustafar.
Okay, that clarifies a lot. Okay. Really ironic scene though.
You said ironic?
Yeah, to your point, like that's his daughter, he doesn't even know.
Yeah. Interesting. How you feel about it?
I thought it was a nice intro. Like you said, the epic introduction of Darth Vader, who's arguably the most iconic character in the Star Wars franchise.
I mean, aside from Anakin.
this is aside from it. But yeah, I like it. Once again, this is typical Star Wars movie entrance where they thrust you in there, they give you a problem that the movie's going to be centered around within the first few minutes. They don't cut to the chase. It's very direct. So I'm very impressed.
Yeah. I love the opening scene, as you guys are, for the same reason that you guys are saying. The only thing that I don't like is, one, because I know at the end of episode 3 they had C-3PO's memory wiped. The only thing I don't like is how like mindless he is. And then the other thing I don't really care too much for is how in Rogue One, of course this is, we'll say 30 years after George Lucas originally wrote this, like how really ruthless, if you guys have ever seen Darth Vader is. Like he's in Rogue One, essentially what happens is when they get to Scarif, Darth Vader's Star Destroyer is essentially on the trail of this Republic vessel or rebellion, this whatever vessel that Leia is on right now. And so in that scene, like he's on that ship, essentially slicing and dicing them up with his lightsaber and really causing terror, like being the the ruthless person that he is. And then when we get this opening scene in Star Wars, this is Star Wars before it was rebranded as The New Hope. When we get this scene, Leia's acting so oblivious. Like, yeah, I understood that just probably 30 minutes ago you saw us get this transmission. We were in fact demolishing, a number of officials on the ship, and now it's like, yeah, I have no idea what you're talking about.
Yeah,
like it's really funny how they piece it two together. But I mean, that is Disney for you in a sense.
So Rogue One is before this one? Takes place before this?
In the timeline, yes.
Oh, okay.
But as far as when it came out in like 2015 or 16.
And Darth Vader's in Rogue One?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Like you see how the Darth Vader that we've seen in Kenobi and how ruthless he truly is, like snapping people's necks and truly using the like force choke and killing people like just by closing his fist. That's the Darth Vader that they put into Rogue One. So you're saying like, yeah, I love how ruthless this Darth Vader is. The Darth Vader that's in Rogue One that is slicing and dicing people up on the same exact ship was way more ruthless.
Yeah, it makes this one look very sane.
Yeah.
Child's play.
Yeah. I forgive this, of course, it's like the first iteration of Darth Vader.
This is just Star Wars. So it definitely is a great opening scene. It's really funny watching it I've loved Star Wars since I was like 5 years old. So watching it at 28 and just hearing Darth Vader's voice, but not seeing any like mouth move, and just seeing like his sharp turns and his angle, like when he's addressing someone. That's like things that those little minute details that I never paid attention to before when I was younger.
Also, to your point about the Rogue One version of Darth Vader and how ruthless he can be, this version did seem a lot more tame. Of course, in retrospect, you do have the ability to compare across time. Yeah. But if you think about it, like Anakin's behavior in when he finally turned to the dark side and he killed the younglings, and like the warpath he was pretty much on, I think even that makes that was created afterwards, so it makes sense. But it makes this Darth Vader certainly pale in comparison.
Fight!
Round 2.
Someone was in the pod. The tracks go off in this direction.
We're doomed.
Okay, all right, fine. Let's go. Yeah, I'll take that red one. No, not that one. I suppose you're programmed for etiquette and protocol.
Protocol? Why, it's my primary function, sir. I am...
What I really need is a droid who understands the binary language of moisture evaporators.
Evaporators? Sir, my first job was programming binary load lifters, very similar to your evaporators in most respects.
Take these two over to the garage, will you? I want them cleaned up before dinner.
But I was going into Toshi Station to pick up some power converters.
You can waste time with your friends when your chores are done.
Well, come on, Red, let's go. This R2 unit has a bad motivator, look!
Hey, what are you trying to push on us?
Excuse me, sir, but that R2 unit is in prime condition. A real bargain.
Uncle Owen?
Yeah?
What about that one?
What about that blue one? We'll take that one.
Okay, let's go.
I've got such a bad case of dust contamination I can barely move.
It just isn't fair. Oh, Biggs is right. I'm never gonna get out of here.
I see, sir.
Oh, you can call me Luke.
I see, Sir Luke.
No, just Luke.
Oh.
Hear a lot of carbon scoring here. Looks like you boys have seen a lot of action.
What with the rebellion and all?
You know of the rebellion against the Empire?
That's how we came to be in your service, if you take my meaning, sir.
Were you on a Star Cruiser?
Help me, Obi-Wan Kenobi. Help me, Obi-Wan Kenobi. You're my only hope.
Oh, Data, pay it no mind.
Who is she? She's beautiful.
I'm afraid I'm not quite sure,
Help
sir.
me, Obi-Wan Kenobi.
He says that he is the property of Obi-Wan Kenobi, a resident of these parts, and it's a private message for him.
Obi-Wan Kenobi. I wonder if he means Old Ben Kenobi. Old Ben lives out beyond the Dune Sea. He's kind of a strange old hermit.
Help me, Obi-Wan
I
Kenobi.
wonder who she is.
You're my only hope.
He says the restraining bolt has short-circuited his recording system. He suggests that if you remove the bolt, he might be able to play back the entire recording.
There you go. Wait a minute, where'd she go? Bring her back. Play back the entire message.
What message?
All right, I'll be right there, Aunt Peru. Here, see what you can do with him. I'll be right back. You know, I think that R2 unit we bought might have been stolen. Well, I stumbled across a recording while I was cleaning him. He says he belongs to someone called Obi-Wan Kenobi.
Tomorrow I want you to take that R2 unit to Anchorhead and have its memory erased.
But what if this Obi-Wan comes looking for him?
I don't think he exists anymore. He died about the same time as your father.
He knew my father?
I told you to forget it.
I think those new droids are going to work out fine. In fact, also thinking about our agreement. About me staying on another season.
Harvest is when I need you the most. It's only one season more. This year we'll make enough on the Harvest that I'll be able to hire some more hands, and then you can go to the academy next year.
Yeah, that's what she said when Biggs and Tank left.
Where are you going?
Looks like I'm going nowhere. I have to go finish cleaning those droids.
Luke's just not a farmer, Owen. He has too much of his father in him.
That's what I'm afraid of.
Interesting. I like the scene. I have no problem with how they got to this Tatooine, right? Yeah, this Tatooine. Yeah, so I don't have a problem with how they got to Tatooine. But I do have a problem. Not really a problem. I think it's a little bit of a convenience that the other droid that he purchased broke down right as he was taking them in, so they can get R2. So
you believe in the Force, don't you?
You're not going there right now. We're really not going there with the Force. So who controls the Force? Obi-Wan in this situation?
No, the Force.
Or Luke?
It's sentient.
Okay. All right. Yeah, we don't have to go in there.
Fundamental understanding. I did have one. I didn't have any problems with the scene. It introduced you to the characters and relationships with each other. But there was one thing that struck me as extremely odd: Beru's outfit. Because so George Lucas and the entire Star Wars series is very good at visual continuity. Everything looks like it belongs together. And they were dressed in the traditional garb that you would expect from characters from Star Wars, and she was there in a jean jacket, and it just looked so strange. Did that not catch your eye?
Nah, honestly, it did not catch my eye.
I saw your reaction, but I didn't really think too much.
Like, she looks like somebody you see in the grocery store today.
Yeah. That was your only qualm with it? Not really qualm.
Well, it wasn't a qualm, it was just something that was really strange.
Yeah. There you go.
The only qualm I have, and it's more or less nitpicking, is that Owen and Beru were in episode 2 when Padme and Anakin went to Tatooine, and both R2 and C-3PO were with Padme and Anakin when they went to Tatooine.
So he should have recognized.
Oh, you should have recognized what you said.
Yeah.
But then again, how common are droids too?
Huh?
How
Well,
common?
it was those for two specific droids. So the thing is, CP3O is not common because Anakin built C-3PO. Remember in episode 1?
Yeah.
And then R2, that specific one. I mean, it can be fairly common, but we're talking about Tatooine.
But you can make the argument for like you said, for astromechs.
Yeah.
Because I mean, they're a dime a dozen, like in the previous movies you've seen. But to your point, yeah, he should have recognized. So that's like one minor loophole there.
Yeah, I mean,
at least C-3PO he could recognize.
Well, C-3PO no, I would say that because he was garnishing the gold plated. Because I remember in episode 1 he was like bronze or a bit dark
exposed too. Didn't he?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I mean, granted, in you know, this is X amount of years since they would have last seen him, but it's not like they haven't had contact before. But yeah, that's the only other thing. I mean, another thing here is that you can just see how much Owen is limiting Luke. I mean, it's not even how much. Like, he's severely limiting Luke just out of fear itself, not for any like sound reasoning. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Like as you know, Bruce says he's not much a farmer. He has too much of his father, and he explicitly states like that's what I'm afraid of.
Yeah. I thought he actually needed him for the harvest stuff. He probably do actually need him, but he still doesn't want him to leave.
Well, if you want to just look at the harvest thing, he's afraid he won't have the help for that. So central, he's afraid of something.
Yeah.
Selfishly and out of fear.
Yeah.
But did he make a promise to Obi-Wan about Luke when he brought him there, or no? Is that another reason why?
Maybe the only promise was to like just take care of him. But I think, I mean, this is of course
because he knows about his dad, right? Yeah, so because he knows about his dad, so
no, he doesn't. Luke doesn't know anything about him.
No. I'm talking about.
Yeah. But you remember they met in.
Yeah.
They met in episode 2.
But he doesn't know he switched. Does he know? That's what.
Obi-Wan, I don't think, tells him that much.
But even then, his uncle lies on about who his dad was.
Yeah. That's another reason why I was like, why does he lie? That's what I was thinking. Like, why did he lie to him if he didn't know that he actually switched to the dark side? Unless Obi-Wan told him, like, hey, this is what happened. So, but, I mean, it wasn't a big, huge conflict with me, though. I understood. But, yeah.
Fight!
Round 3.
Luke! Luke!
Have you seen Luke this morning?
He said he had some things to do before he started today, so he left early.
Oh, did he take those 2 new droids with him?
I think so.
Might be our little R2 unit. Hit the accelerator.
Hey, whoa, just where do you think you're going?
Master Luke is your rightful owner now.
What's wrong with him now?
There are several creatures approaching from the southeast.
Sand people. Come on, let's go have a look.
Wait, what?
Well, there are 2 banthas down there, but I don't see any.
Oh, don't worry, he'll be all right. You're fortunate to be all in one piece.
Ben? Ben Kenobi? Boy, am I glad to see you.
Tell me, young Luke, what brings you out this far?
Oh, this little droid. He claims to be the property of an Obi-Wan Kenobi. Is he a relative of yours? Do you know who he's talking about?
Now, that's a name I've not heard in a long time.
You know him?
Well, of course I know him. He's me.
Well, then, the droid does belong to you.
Don't seem to remember ever owning a droid. I think we better get indoors.
3PO. Can you stand? We've got to get out of here before the sand people return.
I don't think I can make it. You go on, Master Luke.
They're on the move.
No, my father didn't fight in the wars. He was a navigator on a spice freighter.
That's what your uncle told you. I was once a Jedi Knight, the same as your father.
I wish I'd known him.
He was the best star pilot in the galaxy. Which reminds me, your father wanted you to have this when you were old enough, but your uncle wouldn't allow it.
What is it?
It's your father's lightsaber. Not as clumsy or random as a blaster. An elegant weapon. For over 1,000 generations, the Jedi Knights were the guardians of peace and justice in the Old Republic.
How did my father die?
A young Jedi named Darth Vader, who was a pupil of mine until he turned to evil. He betrayed and murdered your father. Vader was seduced by the dark side of the Force.
The Force?
It's an energy field created by all living things. It surrounds us and penetrates us. It binds the galaxy together. And where you come from.
I saw part of the message.
I seem to have found it.
But my ship has fallen under attack, and I'm afraid my mission to bring you to Alderaan has failed. I have placed information vital to the survival of the rebellion into the memory systems of this R2 unit. Help me, Obi-Wan Kenobi. You're my only hope.
You must learn the ways of the Force if you're to come with me to Alderaan.
Alderaan? I can't get involved. I've got work to do. It's not that I like the Empire. I hate it, but there's nothing I can do about it right now.
You know, I think it's interesting how Obi-Wan separates Anakin and Darth Vader here. Because he never tells him that Anakin is Darth Vader. He's like, yeah, he dies from Darth Vader. And I think that's interesting. I don't know. I don't know if George Lucas did that on purpose or if that was just something subtly he put in there or what. But I think that's kind of interesting that he doesn't necessarily tell him, like, okay, yeah. He makes Darth Vader and Anakin as two different people. And I think that's kind of interesting.
Yeah. I thought it was because he didn't want to pique Luke's curiosity and who his father actually was and let him know that he was still out there. And then also at the risk of him going towards the dark side. Because he's probably fearful, like, what happened with Anakin. Mm-hmm. But I did think that was interesting how he worded it, because even with him giving Luke more information about his father, he's still not being truthful, like, almost kind of like Owen did. But it's like half truth, half lie, you know?
Why do you think he doesn't tell Luke that that's literally his sister right there?
I don't think he knows.
Obi-Wan?
Like, he knows that there were twins born, but I don't think he, like, just based on the howling, I don't know if he knows.
Oh, okay. What do you think? Does he know?
You know, what was it? Did she mention her name in the hologram?
Nah.
No, she just mentioned the actual planet, though, but not I don't think her name, though.
Did she mention Bale's name?
Who?
Organa? Bale Organa?
Nah.
Then yeah,
she just said, you served under my father.
Yeah. I mean, it's possible. I mean, he definitely knew that Leia was out there, but I mean, because I know you remember the episode in the end of episode 3, he was there when she gave birth to both of them and was, delivering Luke to Tatooine. Yeah. I looked at it as it being an open-ended answer just because of the times. Like, I mean, it's the first iteration of the movie. If you give an open answer the way he did, then it allows you to build off of it. So that's the way I look at it. It was funny though. I saw you kind of laugh when he gave the definition of the Force. It's like you waited 3 movies to finally get the Kenobi's dictionary definition of what the Force was.
No, I did, but I was actually laughing because the way he described the Force, it seemed like he was a sex offender. That's what it was like, it penetrates you. And I was like, what the fuck? Why does the Force sound like a sex offender?
That's
kind of weird.
What I thought. It was definitely a funny word choice.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. I was like, okay. But yeah, the explanation. It's not really necessarily an explanation of the Force. I think in this movie they more look at the Force as a religion type of thing, while the other movies was more focused on the midichlorians and how that actually came to be. But I was more thinking about how powerful the Force is compared to the dark side. Not necessarily what the Force is, because I'm fine with that, but
the dark side is part of the Force.
Yeah. But like why the dark side clouds the Force in other areas like that, and why if someone from the dark side is near them, they can't necessarily sense it because the Force is clouded. So that's really the explanation I was really looking for, not necessarily about actually the Force.
So you want a Force class?
A Force master class.
You want to put
I
more
would
Jedi?
just want an explanation.
I don't know. I don't look at it that way. Because I think if the Force is just the umbrella, and then you have the light side of the Force, which is what the Jedi subscribe to, and then you have the dark side of the Force, which is like the Sith, Inquisitors, and people that don't follow the Jedi code. And I guess you could say you have like a neutral ground within it as well, like those that are not Jedi but still use the Force for good, like Ahsoka after she leaves the Order.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, the thing that you're pointing out is like how if you're a follower of the dark side of the Force and how they can't sense, how you can't sense them. That's like an attribute of the Force, the same way a chokehold is, a Force chokehold. That's like Force suppression, to where you're able to suppress your Force abilities to where people can't sense you, and that's a deliberate act itself. It's a skill that they've learned, because if you are a user of the Force and then they're able to sense just how strong you are in the Force. Just like the way Yoda is able to sense certain events, they would be able to sense how powerful you are. They're able to sense, okay, are you a follower of the Force in the sense of like you are a light side user like a Jedi, or do you have more malicious intent with your use of the Force and therefore you're a dark side user?
Right.
So I think it's more or less that thing. Like the Force is just this umbrella, and then under that umbrella you have light side, neutral, and then dark side. And then under each particular, characteristic or classification, there's certain qualities that make up that characteristic or that classification. And then, of course, with those characteristics, there's certain powers. And of course, just because you're a dark side user and you're a light side user doesn't mean your capabilities are mutually exclusive. Because as you saw in episode 2, Yoda is able to control Force lightning with his own being, whereas you saw Mace Windu. I mean, pretty sure Mace Windu could probably control it with his own hands as well, but he uses lightsaber. But none of the Jedi admit it, because to be able to admit it, it means you also have to be able to take it as well. It's gonna deform your body the way it did for Palpatine, and even with Dooku, even though he's ridiculously old, you can also see the effects as well. So like there's certain attributes of the Force, depending on what pillar you're a part of, have different effects on not just your Force capabilities, but also your physical presence as well.
Okay. And I think the best analogy for what you said, not being able to sense dark, or it's not a matter of their alignment or their allegiance, like what side of the Force. Yeah. It's pretty much being able to. It's like if you're able to see all the devices connected to a particular Wi-Fi router. So if you don't connect to it, if you're not actively using it, it doesn't show up.
True. But the thing as well is, so I guess this will probably answer your question to where, it's irrelevant about this umbrella. When the Sith were extinct, they minimized themselves from this army of 1,000 to just 2. And they vowed that they would remain, they would vow that they would follow the rule of 2 and remain silent until there was an optimal advantage for them to expose themselves. So you remember with in episode 1, I know Brian remembers it vividly, but when Darth Maul and Palpatine are talking, and he says go to Tatooine, focus on the Jedi first, and Darth Maul is like, fine, we can reveal ourselves to the Jedi, and that the Sith are coming back. So it's one of those things that it puts into a clear picture that Force suppression, or whatever the official name of it is, was something that they deliberately practiced. It was part of their practice to make sure that they were remaining a secret, because if the Jedi could sense them, then they could prepare to defend against it. Whereas they were operating in secrecy, as you see with Palpatine controlling, the banking clans, controlling the Confederacy, to where when it was finally time to, controlling the Senate as well, when it was finally time to reveal himself in his Force presence, they had already had the Jedi surrounded. So you have this, million-man clone army that is the template of the most powerful, or not going to say most powerful, but the most skilled bounty hunter that has ever, existed in the galaxy. And then you have this confederacy to where they not only have to worry about their own soldiers turning against them unknowingly, but then they also have all these robots. And then you have Grievous, and then you have Dooku, and then you have eventually Palpatine getting full control of the Senate, to where there's just nothing the Jedi could do, because the Jedi at the end of the day are loyal to the Republic. Yeah. The Republic is controlled by the Senate, so it was very important that he got, and he being, or we'll just say the Sith, got full control of every possible vessel that would expedite, or not even expedite, but make their eventual coming out party as ruthless as possible, to where the Jedi had nowhere to turn for assistance.
Okay. That's fine. I just wish the movie would have put some type of dialogue
put two and two together.
Yeah, but yeah. I was going to ask you, like, do they do anything else? Do they explain the Force any more in the next two movies or not? Maybe
nah.
We'll see. Okay.
Because remember, this is like the beginning, so it's like very. I'm not 5 and 6 are not as open worded as this, and Luke does address what Ben tells him here later down the line. He said, "You said Darth Vader killed my father." Da, 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 da. So we'll get there when we get there. But Luke is just as curious as to why he's not receiving the full truth, just as much as you are right now. So it's definitely done methodically, and it's answered methodically, by George Lucas in future movies. Okay. Or in the next
one thing that I did draw issue with from this particular scene is how quickly Obi-Wan revealed himself to be Obi-Wan. Like, he just met Luke, and he just tells, because think about this, he's been in hiding pretty much since Order 66 has been executed, right? Mm-hmm. So he finds Luke in the desert, and then he says, okay, yeah, this droid belongs to Obi-Wan Kenobi. You're Ben Kenobi. Do you know him? Oh, of course, that's me. And it's just, how does he know he could trust him?
Hasn't he been looking after him though?
Yeah, he has been looking after him.
He has been actively monitoring him.
Yeah, that was his responsibility. So at the end of episode 3, that was like part of the agreement where he would look over him until he was of age to train, because it's without a doubt that if you're the son of Anakin Skywalker, you have a definitive power or presence of the Force. Yeah, like it without a doubt, it's there. So that was always the thing. And then, I mean, in the books, of course, because obviously George Lucas didn't include it in any of the movies, but in the Kenobi series, he does fight Darth Vader again after Mustafar, so that is there as well. But yeah, you are right. He is technically in hiding, and he does, give his official name, all too easy. But at the end of the day, that was part of the mission, that he would train Luke when he was of age. It's just kind of like the same foolish path to where he's older than Anakin was in episode 1.
Exactly.
And he's going to be training him. So and Luke already has all these attachments. The only thing different is that what we're about to see is, the reason why those attachments don't matter as much as it did for Anakin.
Right. And also the Jedi Order is pretty much dissolved at this point.
Yeah, it's just dissolved. It's just Obi-Wan and Yoda.
Oh, just them two. Yeah. Oh, okay. I thought it was like just a few more, but
I mean, they're in hiding, but because of course, that was the message that they put into the temple. Remember in episode 3, after they discovered the full plot, that they rerouted the code to where it told them to stay far away and to go into hiding.
Is Obi-Wan like suppressing the Force while he's in hiding here too, so he doesn't like it? Yeah, so
pretty sure.
Yeah, and that's what I took from it too. The reason why he revealed himself, because he was looking after Luke the whole time. So when Luke came with the problem, like, oh, I'm looking for Obi-Wan, he's like, oh, this is kind of like starting again. Like this, are we gonna?
For sure. Yeah. Obi-Wan was a hot topic because he was known to have defeated Vader, and what's not in any of the original trilogy are Inquisitors, and like these Inquisitors were tasked with hunting down Jedi, and Kenobi was at the top of the list, which we see in the Kenobi series. But yeah, he definitely knew how to suppress his powers, and even in the Kenobi series, like it goes into detail as far as how much he disconnected himself from the Force and how difficult it was to reconnect. But when he reconnected, it was one of those things where he picked back up where he left off.
I just think it's funny. Like, what if Luke? He ran back to tell us, "Hey, everybody, I met Ben Kenobi, Obi-Wan Kenobi. They're the same person. They're real." Yeah. And then the Sith come and kill him. So that's a huge risk to take.
Yeah.
Fight! Round 4.
The Rebel Alliance is too well equipped. They're more dangerous than you realize.
Dangerous to your Starfleet, Commander.
The Imperial Senate will no longer be of any concern to us.
How will the Emperor maintain control without the bureaucracy?
Fear will keep the local systems in line.
Any attack made by the rebels against this station would be a useless gesture, no matter what technical data they've obtained.
Don't be too proud of this technological terror you've constructed. The ability to destroy a planet is insignificant next to the power of the Force.
Your sad devotion to that ancient religion has not helped you conjure up the stolen data tapes, the rebels' hidden fort.
Enough of this. Vader, release him.
As you wish.
We will then crush the rebellion with one swift stroke.
It looks like the Sand People did this all right. Look, there's gaffy sticks, bantha tracks. It's just, I've never heard of them hitting anything this big before.
These are the same Jawas that sold us R2 and 3PO.
And these blast points, too accurate for Sand People. Only Imperial stormtroopers are so precise.
If they traced the robots here, they may have learned who they sold them to, and that would lead them back home.
Oh, wait, Luke!
Go on!
Damn, that's crazy. Yeah, I like this scene and how this really eventually leads Luke to go out and want to actually train and become a Jedi. After he initially told Obi-Wan, I can't go nowhere. I'm stuck here. I can't. But now this gives him the perfect excuse to basically leave and become a Jedi, like his father.
Yeah. You didn't find the lack of emotional response funny?
From Luke?
Yeah.
No.
You didn't?
You did. I find it funny.
No, not like haha funny, but like strange.
No. Why you said that? You just found it funny?
They raised him.
Well, I think it was more of a shock. I took it as more of a shock. Like, damn, I'm like, not really. The fact that he didn't cry is that you want him like to cry.
I mean, he just like looked and like anything would have been.
Well, this is his first experience with death, so it's kind of like a shock to him. That's how I took it. I didn't really take it as,
Well, you didn't have to do that. It just like a lack of emotion.
You didn't like it? You didn't like that?
It was strange. It didn't match the gravity of Watley. You literally they were incinerated. They looked like jerky. I did think it was funny when they stumbled upon the vehicle that had been ransacked, and he said, "No, this is too precise
for stormtroopers."
This is stormtrooper. It's like, dude, anybody. It's like a running joke in Star Wars canon how inaccurate the stormtroopers shit. Like you saw the opening scene, how C-3PO and R2-D2 just walked past them, and literally the shots were nowhere near them.
Well, I always thought the same thing when he's talking about the blast points, but he's talking about where they
blast radius.
Yeah, that he's talking about, like, you remember in the first scene of the movie when they're using that incendiary thing to like burst through the door.
Mm-hmm.
He was talking about that.
Gotcha.
How because you could see what they were looking at. I was like, let me actually pay attention to it. And he was referring to like the point of entry that they use to get into it. Because what they're looking at is like a hole at the lower part of the Jawa crawler, and you could see that it was used to
go inside the ship as opposed to just randomly shooting at it.
Yeah.
Okay. That's I can appreciate that. Thank you for enlightening me.
Because he says blast point, and I'm like, I don't see any blasting bullets in this. But he's talking about what they use, the accuracy, I guess you could say, of the diameters of that square to get inside of the jaw crawler.
Ironic, nonetheless, though, because
they're
not accurate.
I was thinking that was one thing I wanted to point out about the first scene is like stormtroopers have a terrible rep But they were literally coming through this small corridor to where you literally just have to pull your trigger and shoot at the same area, and they would have just mowed the stormtroopers down. But
you know what's even crazier? They were based off of Django. Well, no, at this point, because I know they discontinued clones.
Yeah.
They started using actual individuals, so I take that back. Yeah. Wow, I mean, I like this. It really gives Luke motivation, like you said, to pursue the path of the Jedi. Yeah. And it makes it really clear what's about to unfold. So I have an appreciation for it. It's just a few small things that
You didn't like his reaction to the actual.
It just didn't match. I mean, I'm not going to denote points or anything like that. Because people react emotionally different to traumatic events such as this. Yeah. But just based off of generalizations, it is a bit strange.
Fight! Round 5.
How long have you had these droids?
You don't need to see his identification.
We don't need to see his identification.
These aren't the droids you're looking for.
These aren't the droids we're looking for.
Move along.
Move along. Move along.
I can't understand how we got by those troops. I thought we were dead.
The Force can have a strong influence on the weak-minded. He doesn't like you.
I'm sorry.
I don't like you either.
I'll be careful.
You'll be dead. This little one's not worth the effort. Chewbacca here, his first mate on a ship that might suit us.
Han Solo. I'm captain of the Millennium Falcon. I've outrun Imperial starships. Not the local bulk cruisers, mind you. I'm talking about the big Carillion ships now. What's the cargo?
Only passengers, and no questions asked.
10,000, all in advance.
We can almost buy our own ship for that.
But who's gonna fly it, kid? You?
You bet I could. I'm not such a bad pilot myself. We don't have to sit here and listen.
We'll leave as soon as you're ready. Docking Bay 94.
94.
This could really save my neck. Get back to the ship and get her ready.
I like this scene. And one thing I want to say about the characters, I feel like every character in this movie has a legitimate reason to be in this movie. And I feel like it's a good inclusion for each character. I know there's no secret I didn't like Jar Jar in the first episode, and in the second episode, I didn't like Hayden Christensen's acting as Anakin because of the dialogue. But I feel like this movie does well including all of his characters. Han Solo is not forced into it. They need a pilot. They find a pilot, and it ends up being Han Solo. And then you have Luke. Luke is brought into it because R2 comes here and he finds R2. So I think that's kind of interesting, and it doesn't end up being like a convenience or a coincidence or anything like that. Like I like that. How you guys feel about the scene?
I agree. The only thing I don't like is I'm saying Falcon instead of Falcon.
I didn't notice that either, but I was like, okay.
I mean, I understand it's your ship, big dog, but come on now, that's not the Falcon. That's the Falcon.
That's how you pronounce it. I don't know.
The Falcons.
I will make one correlation here or connection. I do think that he knows that that's Leia. And the reason why I say that is because when they split both of them up, and again, this is hindsight being 2020. When he splits both of them up, he knows for a fact that Leia goes to Alderaan to be part of the royal family with Bail. Mm-hmm. And that can only make the need for that connection to be more obvious and relevant because of that fact alone. So I do think he knows. I just don't think that he is being cognizant and putting the connection there, because then Luke will make the connection, or it would kind of undermine the whole Darth Vader was the one that killed your father. It would kind of unravel his ambiguous answers. So I think he's being very, very meticulous. And I mean, even when, you know, Luke is being antsy at the table and a little arrogant, like, oh yeah, we can buy a plane and I can, or we could buy a ship and I can fly it. You know, he keeps it cool and is like, trust me, you don't know anything of what you're doing right now. So he plays a very cool, calm, and collective. And I do think that is for a reason, and that he knows way more than he's willing to give off at the moment. It's kind of like you meeting a girl and divulging your full life story on the first date.
Yeah, interesting. So this might be my favorite scene out of this movie. Oh, really? Just because of like a lot of the comedic moments in this particular segment, they weren't forced. And it was very ironic. Like when he got his hand sliced off, the music stopped. And then it stopped like 3 seconds, and everybody just turned around. The guy was blowing his hookah and whatever. Did they have hookah back then?
That's what I was asking. I was like, is that a jewel?
But that's how they be looking on Snapchat and Instagram when they be in the club sitting there in the section. Yeah. But yeah, the music, and then also the Mos Eisley Cantina music is iconic in itself. Yeah. It's up there with I wouldn't even say that it's more iconic than the Darth Vader score.
I don't know about that one, but I do love, or when I was in band, I loved playing the Mos Eisley Cantina song.
Well, yeah, I just like the scene. It was well-placed comedy. That's one of the things that I will continually say about these films. The original 6 is that the comedy isn't forced. It's very organic. It just happens. It's more so ironic comedy than punchlines and jokes.
Yeah, because I feel like it's not something like, oh, I'm gonna write a joke at this point in this scene right here. I think it's just like it flows naturally.
Yeah, I can really appreciate that. The characters here, so Des, I actually want to take time to revisit something you said earlier. So you said a lot of things were edited in here to make the film look better. You weren't talking about specifically in the cantina, were you?
No.
Okay, because these folks are ugly as hell.
No. It was like just like the animals on the outskirts, and making Mos Eisley itself as they're driving in look a little bit more populated, because it's supposed to be, you know, the most popular spaceport. Like if we think back to episode 1, like when Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan are walking through this. I mean, this is like almost like a bazaar. If you guys have ever been to a bazaar, with like how people are on the streets trying to buy stuff and things of that nature. And then like in this movie, granted, you know, I mean, this is an outer rim system, but obviously there is an Imperial presence. But like, I mean, it looks sparsely popular. Like you don't see a lot of people in the streets or things of that nature. So I think there were certain things added in to kind of give that effect, because it definitely looks like 2 different Mos Eisleys than what we see in episode 1, and then what we see in the Kenobi series as well.
You don't play.